Hey, what's going on?
Hello.
Hello. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Welcome back to the Goggins Family Podcast. It's good to see y'all. Let's go.
Excelente.
Yeah. How's everything going, man? Since the last time we chatted over here.
It be going. Kind of wearing my butt out. I've been hitting the gym extra hard and then training. I didn't train jiu-jitsu much last week because I had stomach stuff still, but
Yeah. Been running and gunning, huh?
Training early in the morning is hard.
Dude, I miss training early in the morning, man. Honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I used to do the 5:45 class.
Yeah, dude, that's early.
That's early. It was 5:45 to like 6:30 or something like that. So it was a little bit over an hour or whatever, or a little whatever. It was cool, man. That was like the best way to start the day. And then like afterwards, I mean, basically I was like the worst one starting out there. It's like a bunch of high level belts and brown, purple, whatever. And I'm like the low blue belt guy that just happened to be chunky, so it's like I just get my butt kicked all morning long. And then before you know it, it's like, hey, my brain's working faster in the morning. Like it was like up and rock and roll. There's so many benefits to getting up and doing that in the morning. I miss it, honestly. I miss it a lot.
And then you have how long, much longer do you have to have the collar on?
Questions. So the last scan that I got, basically the doctor has to read it. And then once they say yes or no, like it looks healed enough to start the exit out, then it's another 6 weeks of like incrementally more time out of the collar. So once they green light the transition, then it's 6 weeks from that point, and then it's physical therapy. So got a little bit of a road still. So being patient, capitalizing on, just the downtime and moving the ball forward with like the His Way Redemption Ranch stuff and all that rad stuff going on. So boom, IRS paperwork, got that all squared away. So we're IRS faith-based. We're 508c1a now, so we're rocking and rolling, moving that ball that way. So God's using awesome. God is using the downtime to keep things moving, even though I am not currently moving as fast as I want to. So trusting Jesus in the process.
In time, sir. In time.
Yes, sir.
So that's good. So we have so next week is cool because we have I don't know his name. Everyone calls him Taco on the stuff he's on.
I'm stoked on that though.
Taco Talks is the guy. I just kind of shot him a message and asked if he'd like to talk, and he's like, for sure. And yeah, so
that's so rad. Dude's got like 50K followers, bro. Like he's got a pretty big following. He's a big deal.
Yeah, so he may be a little controversial, I think, but I understand his points of view, and I'm not literally educated enough in the Bible to be able to contradict anything that he believes. I don't see anything that's way out there either.
Yeah. I mean, if you find everyone that agrees with everything that you believe, like, you know what I mean? Like there's room for biblical interpretation to be varying slightly. Now, if the main things are the main things, then like we're on the same team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everything that he really mentions, I agree with anyway. Our theology is kind of the same on that. You know, like he says, like, can you lose your salvation? He doesn't think that you can lose your salvation, which I kind of agree. I mean, I don't know enough to really kind of argue the other way. The only thing I can really think of, and I think we talked about it last week.
Yeah, it was like the were you saved to begin with type thing.
Were you even saved to begin with kind of a thing? Yeah. And so I think that's really kind of the only, I mean, not even that, like, he doesn't think that Catholics are Christians, which I can see his point of view on that. There's a lot of like weird, I don't want to say culty things going on, but like stuff that they say is from the Bible directly, and it's like it's not like, in there.
Yeah, like the Maccabees, you guys, the ones that you took out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, dude, like, why is there additional stuff on top of, like, what Jesus commanded type thing? Like, why are we praying through Mary instead of, like, to Jesus, you know?
Hmm.
But,
Yeah, they
um,
also think that Mary is sinless, which
question
I
mark?
don't know how to like argue that either way, but the only person that I know is sinless is Jesus. So
Biblically,
that
yes, because
that
like,
basically is kind of it.
flesh is sinful, bro.
Yeah.
Like, he
So
can't say that she wasn't. That's insane.
yeah, I don't know, man. So should be
It's
cool.
gonna be fun, dude. I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of
Get down
interesting
on
that
this.
I'm kind of it's cool that he, I mean, he's
When do you think
growing. And after I asked him that, actually, he posted a thing about if anyone wanted him on his podcast, like let him know. And I was like, done. I done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's me, dude. We started this. Yeah, he's rad, man. I wanna be able to get about it, get to know him. Maybe repeat, like, hey, just still talk with toxins on today, bro, you know? That's cool.
Yeah. He's a former firearms instructor too, so that's kind of awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
And I guess he was a former stand-up comedian too,
Okay.
which I didn't know that, but that's kind of awesome. Um, but yeah, like he's not like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where he lives or whatever, but I think that we'd probably get along in person as well. Anyways, based
Yeah,
on from what I've
100%.
seen.
100%, man. I'm for it.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have some things to talk about
Let's do
today.
it. Dude, every
And
time we hit record on this podcast, like, somebody calls me and then a group chat that I'm a part of just explodes. And I'm like, guys,
why?
stop it. I just every time. It
Blame
just is what
Amanda.
it is. Well, it's like our sober steps group is going off right now, and then like my brother called me. So if you listen to this, Justin, bless you. I love you so much.
Sent you to voicemail.
I did indiscriminately sent him to
Take that.
voicemail.
Take it.
That's what you get, man. For calling me. Let's get into this, man. It's good.
All right. So the question is, does modern culture undermine fatherhood? And I guess the real additional question would be is why do we hear so much about toxic masculinity, but so little about the damage caused when fathers are absent?
I think we like to. I mean, they have like since rewrote the definition of toxic, masculinity. In the last
Mhm.
like I don't know 10 years, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe 15 years. Like the epidemic of fatherless homes is very real, and the consequences of that are very real. Like, absolutely. I forget the statistic of like the in every avenue that is a negative, like, postmark or metric that you can measure increases, like when there's a father out of the home, like, child susceptible to, drugs and then alcohol, and then there's like, susceptible to like, involved in like violent crime or gangs or whatever. Like all those metrics go up when there's not a father figure in the home, but most importantly, father figure that, is submitted to Christ, in the home. Like I like I've plenty of people who had fathers in the home, but like the father was the point of like them. He would get drunk and beat the trash out of, beat the snot out of the kids, right? I think that's the wrong kind of father to have in the home, right? Like
Yeah.
you need God fearing, God submitted, God serving people, fathers in the home to lead the home. But yeah, dude, it's crazy how much negative is involved when the father is absent, and then also when the father's not submitted to Christ. I mean, I don't know which one's worse. Probably the absent is worse, but then, if there's a father that is not an example. I mean, even in my own life, I struggled for a really long time with like God as father, as Abba, because I didn't really have an example of like what that meant in my early formative years. Like since, God heals things, and later in life, like we were able to get on the right foot and the right path, and God mended that relationship. But like early on, I didn't know what the heck like a healthy father, a healthy marriage, or look like. It was just like, this is what this is. I don't want any part of it. I'm out. Like live fast, die young, die before I'm 21. Like I'm out. I kick the bucket, dude. We're good. I don't want this like white picket fence, the house, the car. Like none of that stuff sounded appealing. But dude, yeah. So what's your take on that whole thing? Like the toxic masculinity and the negative effects of, um, you know.
Well, I don't think the toxic masculinity thing is even real, honestly. Um, I think what happened is that the leftist agenda kind of pushed more towards the softness, the increasing femininity of men, so they can be more in touch with their feelings or whatever it is, whatever the false um what the false whatever the false thing is that they're trying to push.
Mhm.
Um and you see it a lot too in behavior with kids, right? Like there's a lot of like increased delinquency with regards to fatherless homes. Um I was trying to find the numbers here actually. Percent of children living without the father in the home, 50% roughly for black families. That's crazy. 29% Hispanic, 20% white. US overall is about 25%. So 25% of households in the United States do not have a father figure in the home, whether it's the birth father, stepfather, whatever. They don't have access to that.
That's a huge number.
It's huge. Um, the breakdown for crime: young men who grew up without their biological father were twice as likely to spend time in jail by the age of 30. So that's pretty significant. A study of juvenile delinquents found 66% had experienced fatherlessness, and about 70% of juveniles in state operated correctional institutions come from single parent homes.
That's a
That's a
crazy
no
statistic.
bueno. That's a
Yeah,
no
man.
bueno.
That's I think there's such like an attack on, I mean, okay, even the way the enemy has systematically attacked the nuclear family over the last like 50 years is crazy. Like, you know, if he can he if he can cut down what the family looks like he's already undermined the structure of like what God's instituted to raise the child, right? Like, God designed marriage, like father and mother can become one, and then they're married, become one, and then they produce the children underneath that, right? Like, innately, we're built into if we have both parents in the home, or like, we're blessed enough to experience like what a healthy marriage growing up as a child in that looks like, is you immediately have a depiction of like what that looks like: Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, like the triune nature of who God is, as an example of like, hey, mom is nurturing and love, but dad is also like structure and rule and pushing, right? Like, as especially as boys, you know, a son is always going to run to mom when like he needs love and encouragement, but the dad's job is always to push past the boundaries. Like, hey, he's going to figure this out. He's going to learn. And it's like them together is what's the developmental on both sides of what's necessary, Naren. Like the fearlessness and the courage and the bravery. And then the other side is like the nurturing, the emotional, the loving aspect, and they come together. So we need both parents in the home to develop the child on both aspects of the spectrum, where the enemy has been trying to undo that and has undone that. Look, I mean, the statistic is like, 50% for African American families, 20%, of the country is experiencing this. Like, that's mind blowing. But
Yeah.
even if you restricted that metric a little bit more and say like, without their nuclear family, like without the biological mother and father, that statistic is even higher, I bet. Like, numerous times people have come into a blended family type situation, which like those guys, the blended family side where a guy comes in and chooses the woman to raise her children, and like that those guys are heroes, um, that are choosing the mantle of fatherhood, especially who ones don't have kids themselves, right? Like that's a big deal for them. But it's necessary for the kids, right? And because we need the example of who Christ is, especially through, um, through the growing up and the maturing of men and women, right? Because like the statistic is like, now as a woman or as a man in a household raising girls, like you're setting the standard for what is appropriate for a man to that bar
Mhm.
for your daughter. And then on the other side, you're teaching your son what's appropriate and the correct way to love a woman once they come into the maturity into that type of relationship. Like there's so much carryover from the role of fatherhood that like the whole culture is undermining what that is, right? Like, I mean, like look at any of the sitcoms, right? It's like just kind of like ludicrous, like just like Neanderthal guys, and like the mom is everything. That's not the way God designed it. That's an undercut, an undercut, an undermined like example of what God designed as a father. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like a backhanded kind of like diss on fathers.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's also contradictory to what the Bible says specifically about how like the men are supposed to be the leaders of the household and then the wives are supposed to be the helpers, you know? Like
yep.
the decision comes, from the man and the wife is the helper. Like obviously we communicate and we make the decisions together, but the final decision ultimately resides with the husband, you
Mhm.
know. So um that's
Because
just
yeah, that's the one
that's in a
you're
healthy
accountable to.
relationship, right?
Mhm. That's what you're accountable to God for.
Yeah.
Even if you submit to your wife in going in a direction that you don't necessarily, you know, agree with in some regard, like you're still held accountable to that by God. Like your submission to it is complicity, and then that means you're as the man are responsible for it. Like you're judged accordingly. Like you're held accountable to that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I heard I was listening to Josh Howerton,
Yeah,
um,
dude's savage. I love that guy.
and he was talking about the family households, the number of kids that continue to be Christian, whatever. Excuse me. Um, but and I don't remember exactly what the number was, but so I looked it up here. Um, it's I basically asked children of two married Christian parents who stay married and the faith retention, success, and sexual abstinence with the kids. So, if both parents attended church regularly, children were 41% likely to attend church as an adult versus 29 with only one parent attended. Children from homes with regular prayer, faith conversations, strong parent child relationships were substantially more likely to remain Christians as adults. That doesn't have the number. And then strong father child relationships increase the odds of adult church attendance by 58% and belief in God by 73%.
Mhm.
So, and these are from the New York Post.
That's crazy too. It's like I heard like a family that has never experienced God before. I mean, you kind of walk this out in even your faith walk with your family too, right? Like
Yeah.
the male coming to faith first, like the husband coming to faith, and that becomes the driving force. Like, hey, I'm pursuing Jesus, and I'm inviting your family to come with you. The statistics on that is, um, I believe it once the male starts attending church regularly, the likelihood of his wife and children subsequently following him is like 91%. Whereas like the mom specifically starts going to church regularly, it's like a 53% likelihood that the husband will follow. And then kids is like 17%. Like the magnitude as our when we're doing our duty to lead and to set an example worth following, um, that like the weight of that is supernatural. Like God divinely set us aside to lead in that way. Where if a husband's like, I'm selling out for Jesus, I'm encountering this is my new passion. Like, this is who my heart, soul, mind, body, and spirit is surrendered to. Like, this is where I'm going. Follow me if you want to, but this is what I'm doing on my own. The likelihood of your wife submitting to that and then your kids following you is incredibly tangible and much, much higher than if it was the other way around
Yeah.
statistically.
And I think one of the things too that I mean, this is anecdotal from what I've seen in the people around me um, that are they don't regularly attend church. There's a couple. examples, right? So one, my neighbor who is a pastor's kid, who they don't attend church at all, really, only on like Easter and Christmas and stuff like that. Which to me, that's you know, that's just like I don't know why they do that. I don't know why people do
You're
that. It's kind of weird. But whatever. And then another guy who his daughters train jujitsu. Not they're a couple of my students, and the dad takes them to church basically almost every Sunday, but the wife doesn't go. And like part of me is kind of like confused as to why. Like the dude he'll come up and he'll talk to me like I'll be standing out front or whatever, and he'll come up and he'll just be dropping the F-bomb like every other word and stuff. And I'm like, there's like
time
there's
and
like
place, bro. Time and place.
and but like he's there every Sunday, pretty much. I mean, the kids go into the classes, and then the kids are going to go to VBS, the Vacation Bible School, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But like he can't get his wife to go, and I'm like, bro, make her come to church. Like make her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like really weird that he kind of just like lets her do it. I think like it should be. I know the conversation isn't had, and he's kind of like a lot of this is from my experience also, like a lot of the younger couples that I've experienced, the husband is like kind of submissive to the wife, which is really weird and not in necessarily a good way. Like they actively appear to be afraid
Mm-hmm.
to an extent. Like happy wife, happy life kind of thing, but like literally that's that's like what their household is at. And I think
Yeah.
that's not good.
No, that's not the way God designed it, right? I
Yeah.
would think so. As you were talking about your gentleman from church, I would also say, I mean, okay, you said like, why not make him go? Better than that, we have to make sure if we're the one driving the spiritual tempo of our home that our life lines up with what we're saying. So if I'm attending
Right.
church, but at the house, I'm still acting like the same old deadbeat, dude who's lazy, who's passive, who's just like, I'm just all I'm concerned about is what's going on in the Major League Baseball or, the NFL or NBA or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
spending all my time, energy, and effort into things like that, where I'm not leading the home physically, but I'm attending church. I'm doing the right things externally. Like
Yeah.
I would challenge that person to say, hey, does my life line up in the way that shows that this isn't just a Sunday thing as a conscience checkbox, or is this like a life stance and movement where like I'm going to church as an outflowing of the relationship I personally have with Christ? And
Mhm.
sometimes, you don't know how toxic the relationship was prior to that individual coming to Christ, right? Where
Right.
like in the sober steps world, right? Like the group that I lead tonight, there's a lot of times where our the individuals in our group have been in active addiction for 20 years, and they've burnt bridges for 20 years, and then it takes them being faithful to Jesus for years before like their husband or the wife or the kids follow suit, like because they're just so like traumatized and shell shocked, like I'm going to give this a second because this could be just a passing fad. So there's a number of different underlying current things in that regard. But yes, if I'm leading in a way that is submitted to Jesus, and I'm living in a way that's authentic to him and authentic in front of my wife and my kids, I'm living as an example of a person who is easy to submit to because they are submitted to Jesus. So if I'm
Mhm.
living in a way that's submitted to Christ, I become in a way that living a life that my wife, it becomes easy for her to submit to me because she sees Jesus in me. Now, if I being the man of the home doesn't mean you're this authoritative dude with the rules with an iron fist and a rod and staff, right? Like you can't do that. Like it's for as a husband and wife, it's our responsibility that we're accountable for, but it's equal parts different function. Like what I do in the home is different than what my wife does, and that's the way God designed it. Now, if any one of those is missing, you're missing the collective wholeness in the home. And but it doesn't mean that like my role is more important. It means that I'm accountable to everything else that happens, but I need equally my
Yeah.
wife with the same level of accountability to Jesus and the same weight within the household, but I'm ultimately the one that's on the hook for the decisions and for the trajectory of my home, because she's my helpmate. I'm the leader. I can't do the best that I can without my helpmate, but she's accountable also to, she's like under the submission of my authority to Jesus. Like, now that means if I'm off base, she's off base
Yeah.
because I led her off base. Right.
Right.
So, I mean, dude, yeah, it was like interesting as you were talking about your friend. Like, you're like, bro, why doesn't your wife come? Like, there's part of it of like, hey, can you just come with me one time? Part of that, leading that way,
She's been a few times. She's been a few,
but
but
consistently just not her jam.
consistently no. Yeah, and the problem is, and the good thing is that he's got two daughters. I can't remember how old they are. I think one is, I want to say one's like 7, and the other one's maybe 10 or 9 or something like that.
Hmm.
They're fairly young, and they love going to church and going to the classes and stuff. And
That's cool.
I think I think seeing from, this is from my perspective, I guess. I think the mom seeing how much fun the kids have and like how much they can change as they're starting to learn. I don't necessarily think he is actively living it out at home. I just think he comes to church because he's trying. You know,
Hmm.
he's probably
Yeah.
trying to get there. He understands the necessity of it in life. I think I haven't really. He's a younger dude. He's like 31. Like he's pretty
Hmm.
young. So I
Yeah.
think he doesn't really necessarily have the
He needs it.
understanding or the
Yes.
focus, something like that.
Even the mentor to walk alongside him and walk into like what faith looks like as a man to lead a
Yeah,
home.
yeah. And I think that is that's not, I'm not going to probably do that because I can't take anything else on my plate. But I think ultimately the exposure for the girls to be in the
Yeah.
church environment consistently and seeing how like they learn as they're going through the week, um, and using whatever they learned in church on Sunday to kind of apply it throughout the week at home and throughout, and in school and stuff like that, I think is going to be beneficial. And I do want to give him props and saying like, hey man, like he's got him in sports. He's there all the time with them. Like he's, you know, um, very supportive of them. He's a good dad. He has, he's able to, he doesn't let them get away with stuff, and he's very disciplinarian with them. Like when they start to
Mhm.
whine or whatever, and it's usually the younger one that starts to whine and stuff, and he's like, "Dude, stop!" Especially like on the mats when like she gets whatever. She used to like after class would like get hit with a dodgeball or whatever, and she would like freak out and start crying, and he'd be like, "Dude,
Crying.
seriously, stop!" And because
You're in
she
a
would like,
combat sport.
yeah. So like, but I mean, they're pretty tough little girls for the most part, and so like they're getting better. But I'd like to see obviously him be able to use the leadership that he's instilled in the kids in the family and in his wife, kind of a thing. Um,
Mhm.
the one thing I was talking to Aaron about yesterday specifically was like whenever they say, because we watch some trash TV, right? Reality TV. Aaron likes that kind of stuff, so it's like
Amanda does
whatever.
too, so bless up. Mhm.
But I use it as like like an opportunity to kind of like just kind of see the behavior of like people who live without God. We watch like Below Deck, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah,
Where, like, the
yeah,
behavior is just complete, like, it's a disaster, you know
it's
what I mean?
anarchy,
Like,
bro, yeah.
they're sleeping with each other on a rotational basis. They're getting just hammered every time that they're off shift, and
Yep.
it's like, "Man, like, what is going on? Like, what kind of life are these people leading?" And then there's the one who's, like, not necessarily, I don't think she's Christian, but she just got married, and she's always been, like, kind of the down to earth one that's been in, like, all the seasons, and it's like, dude, this chick's, like, got it down. Like, she, like, doesn't do anything stupid, like, she drinks, but, like, nothing crazy, and, like, she doesn't get to the point where she's, like, unfaithful, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Which I think is
Yep.
really important, because that, like, can tend to be the main reason why a lot of people are unfaithful is alcohol.
Huh. Yeah.
Um,
And then in a position where body chemistry, like 100%, you put yourself in a crappy position, and then you ingest something and it lowers your inhibitions, like,
mhm,
it's a disaster.
yeah. Yeah, and so, when we watch that stuff, and I'm like, man, I just kind of think in my head, I'm like, dude, like this is abysmal behavior. I've been there before, but looking back on it now, I can see like the mistakes, that these people are doing, and like a lot of it maybe just because they're on camera, but a lot of it's not. Um, but oh man, so what I was saying is that there was a mention. One of them mentioned, I'm an independent woman, and I hate when I hear that because like all you're really saying is like you want to be alone and you don't want to have a man in your life, and that's it. You just want to like do whatever you want to do and be promiscuous and all this other stuff, which I don't really like. It doesn't impact me, but it's like it impacts your soul, you
Mhm.
know? Like after a while, you're going to be like, what am I doing? I'm 40 years old and I've never had a real relationship. And I've had 3 STDs, I've had 4 abortions, and like all this stuff kind of stacks up. Not that it applies in this specific situation, but like in those kind of realms, that's probably a pretty common thing, right?
Mhm.
So if you're if you're a wife, you can't say I'm an independent woman because like you're not, right? And you're not in charge of your husband. And if that's how the marriage is run, there's a problem there, right?
Mhm.
But also as a man, you have to be able to provide that security for your wife, right? You have to be able to provide her
Yep.
that you have to make her feel like she's safe. You have to make her feel like she's secure. She shouldn't have to worry about anything when you're around,
Yep.
right? She shouldn't have to worry
100%.
about whatever. You know what I mean? She should feel 100% secure with you around at all times, safe.
Mhm.
She should be able to fall asleep no matter what, no matter
Absolutely.
where, all this kind of stuff. And like, same thing with the kids, right? Your kids should have zero apprehension when you're around because they should be so careless with you around that they don't even understand like what's
Mhm.
going on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like to me, being a good father and being a good husband is that, right? Like I could be dog tired, I could be sick, you know, whatever, but I'm going to make sure that my family's safe, right? And protected. And
First, yep.
and all that stuff. So ultimately it doesn't matter how I am. I mean, eventually it will, but at the moment, my main goal is to make sure my family is safe
100%.
and that I'm providing for my son and for my wife. So, and that's not just
And
financial. That's
no, that's in every aspect
in every
of
aspect.
life. Mhm.
Yeah.
Like every element that you could like make a sub breakdown in, like sub development in, like emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, all of it in every aspect. Like our responsibility is so that they can be protected, safe, and taken care of, not just, oh, here's the paycheck, you do. Like that's not it. If that's what you do, you just hand over the money.
Yeah.
Wrong. Like you need some mentoring and some coaching. And even as what you were saying too sparked an idea in my head. Well, not an idea, but a thought. The whole "I'm a strong independent woman" feminism thing is a direct assault on the way God designed marriage and fatherhood and masculinity. If there's a bunch of women talking like, "I don't need no man, I'm gonna run this show," and then when they do get married, that mentality's still there. It's like, "I'm gonna run this house." Like now you're fighting the God designed order. Like as a man, and then that's what he's talking about right now. Like passive men marry women that are these, I'm a strong independent woman. I don't need no man. I'm gonna run this the way I want to. That's out of
Hmm.
order. Like no wonder things are not working right. You're not following the God designed order. Like that whole thing goes in line with the attack on masculinity, and what that means is, oh, a woman can do it better. Like, yeah, and
Well,
and then yeah, that whole mentality. Go ahead.
what I was gonna say, and then it says here, if fathers don't matter, why does their absence show up so consistently in the data? Right. So like
Yep, because
I
that's just swept under the rug, bro.
we just watched a movie with it was like Jennifer Lopez. It was a newer movie, like on Netflix, and her her secretary is like basically this, I'm an independent woman. That's another reason I brought it up, because that was annoying. And she was artificially inseminated. She's pregnant, and she's like, I don't need a man. I need, and all this other stuff. And it's like, it's crazy stuff, because that's the kind of thing that's portrayed to the public nowadays, and
That's
they're
what's
trying to
normal.
make
Yep.
it normalized. Yeah, and ultimately, like, if you look at, what's the percentage of marriages that end in divorce? No offense.
Dude, it's literally like 50 something percent, 52% or something like that. And even in the Christian sphere is 50%. It's ludicrous.
Yeah. Second marriages are 60 to 70, and then third marriages are 70 to 75.
So what's first? It's 50%, right?
40 to 45, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think Christian marriages are that high, are they?
They are approaching that same demographic or that same statistic, which is super sad because it is that whole mentality of the culture saying one thing that's contrary to the way God has designed marriage to be. And
Hmm.
also, okay, here's another thing too. I don't know if it's further in our talking points or not, but the mantle of fatherhood isn't necessarily birthright. Okay. Like a dude like we were talking about that's coming along that's never had a child has stepped into the arena of saying, hey, I choose this woman to love and cherish, but she has 2 kids or 3 kids or whatever, and I'm going to stand here in the gap as a father figure for them. That mantle you chose with equal weight in that child's life. So like we're a blended family, right? Youngest one's
Mhm.
mine, the older 2 are hers. I choose to stand as another father figure in the lives of my oldest 2. And dude, just the other day, they're crazy. So my wife, we were both hungry, so we started bickering about something just ludicrous. And then all of a sudden, like in the back seat, our daughter goes like, "Oh my god, you guys are getting a divorce." And I later I'm like, "No, we're not. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we're fighting over what food we want. Like, what just something stupid." And I'm like, that's crazy. I said, for one, I'm not leaving. Two, you need to get that word out of your mouth. And immediately, without missing a beat, my oldest son, who's not mine genetically, goes, I'm going with him. I'm like, bro, time out. You don't like that's not how it works. You decide like you're going with a dude that like that's your mom. Like I'm your stepfather. No, I'm going with him. Mom, sorry. Like I'm going with I'm going with him over here. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. But the mantle of fatherhood is either you produce a child physically, biologically, or you choose
Mhm.
to step into that role. Understand the weight is the same. Whether you choose fatherhood, whether it's adoption, whether it's blended family, whether it's biological fatherhood, fatherhood does not change and the weight doesn't change.
Mhm.
It's the same responsibility, same requirement, same understanding and intentionality. You don't get just like, oh, well, I'm just the stepfather. I'm going to be like a half rate father. Nuh-uh. You chose to step into that arena. It's your responsibility to be spiritually fit enough to lead your family. Get off the pot, man. Like, let's do this thing. Like, fathers need to rise up. Men need to rise up into the places that they're called to be, man. This whole thing gets me all fired up and jazzed up. Like, men, wake up.
Well, yeah, because if you're if you're a passive man and a father, the children are learning their values somewhere, right?
Mhm.
So, like
100%.
on number 4, if you look down there, it says, children are learning values from school, social media, entertainment, friends,
100%.
influencers, and if the dads aren't leading, culture will, and that's the worst thing that can happen, is because you don't want your kids to live worldly lives, you want them to live godly lives,
Correct.
okay? And if you're not discipling your children, then someone else is.
Discipleship happens regardless. Like you either choose to do it or the culture and the people around your kids are going to do it. The
Yeah,
choice is yours. Like if like the weird conversations that you're like, this is genuinely uncomfortable to talk about with like a 13-year-old. Guess what? If you're not having that conversation, the world is.
yeah.
So have the ludicrously uncomfortable, just ridiculous conversations, or someone else will. You have to make that determination as a parent. Like in
No,
this
and a lot
culture,
of times, like, you're not gonna like it. Like, a lot of times when I have to talk to Andrew about something and I'm telling him whatever it is on the way home from jujitsu or something like that, And I'm like, bro, like you gotta, this has got to change. This, whatever it is, whatever behavior
Mhm.
has to change.
Mhm.
He's not excited about it. He's
Yeah.
not excited. And then he apologized. And I'm like, don't apologize. I was like, you don't really know any better for this specific behavior because you've not been taught either way. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But this thing here, and like, especially like when it comes to discipline, whether it's school or jujitsu or whatever, it's like, hey, man, like if you keep half assing whatever effort you're putting into one
Oh,
thing or
yeah.
another, whether it's school or jujitsu, you're going to start haphazardly doing things as you're moving forward in life. And
Yep.
that's not something that I'm okay with. And being okay with like mediocrity is not necessarily good, but if you're doing your best and the best that you can do is average, I'm not upset. I'm not upset with that.
Absolutely.
As long as you're doing your best, you know what I mean?
That is
And you're going to
that's that
fail.
that's our mentality. I expect 100% effort. Now, if you're halfway making it with 100% effort, that's all I ask. Now, if
Yeah,
you're just middle of the pack with and you're only using 40% of your gas tank, now I got a problem. Like I expect 100% effort, 100% intentionality, and do your absolute best. Um, Wifey's calling.
bruh. Tell her to learn a book,
Bruh.
dude.
um, the expectation is 100%. There was a time this last football season where Jaron was on the field, um, and he was just. It was a rough game. Like they were getting the one of the only games they just got decimated. Like 50% of the team was gone because it was spring break or whatever, and like Jaron's just like flopping around on the field. I called him over to the sideline. I grabbed him by the pads and I said, "Dude, if you don't give any more effort than this, I'm pulling you off this field right now because that's like you're being a poor example to your dad, to your mom, and to the ethics and standard of which we're raising you. So get your helmet on. You need to get back out on the field right now. You need to leave everything on this field. I don't care the outcome. The expectation is 100% effort, and it like that's what we have to train a kid. So biblically, it talks about raising a child in the way they should go. So they get older, they won't depart from it. That means spiritual principles. That means ethical principles. That means intentionality. Like all of that is learned, especially from the father. We set that and ingrain that in our kids, both sons and daughters. Like work ethic, determination, tenacity. That stuff most time doesn't come unless it's taught. Like you could have a tenacious kid, which is like a wildfire burning all the time. But if you don't harness that into very pointed like this is the fire that you use when you're supposed to use it, like you're going to set the whole forest on fire.
Mhm.
Whereas a bridled fire keeps you warm at night. I can bridle fire to cook food, to light my campsite, to keep away predators. But if I'm just a wildfire everywhere I go, I set on fire. Like I have zeal without knowledge. That's a problem. We have to learn how to it burn bright, but you need to harness how you're burning, and those things come as a father. We have to train and teach and disciple and discipline because this like this whole soft like soft parenting generation, dude, look around. Is that working? It's not. Absolutely not working. It's okay, just don't do it again. 10 seconds later, kids smacking the crap out of mom in like Target because they're not getting a toy they want. Like, what is happening? It's now we just don't do that, honey. I'm like, nah, dude, you turn around and you go pow, 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 bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, spare the rod, you spoil the child. And that's so counter. That's like, the culture undermining fatherhood, right? Like, if you say, hey, I got a wall, I got to smack the tar out of my son, bam, because he's mouthing off. Who else is going to? Now, if I'm passive and complicit saying, oh, just don't do it this time, now I become complicit with a terrible behavior like you were talking about. And now I perpetuate that behavior into the rest of their life because I didn't take the time to have the uncomfortable conversation to correct a behavior that is counterproductive, that is causing harm. Because, like, we talk about like officers and, firefighters, and we're taking an oath to protect. I mean, the military, they enlisted, right? Like to take an oath to protect. Like as a father, it's our job to protect. That's an oath we take to God. Like, hey, this is our responsibility to train up our kids. And if we're unwilling to do it, you're failing at the task that God put you on the earth for. Is to love your wife, to train your kids.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Yes, I agree.
oh, hold on, I'm gonna answer this. Oh, she hung up on me. I should put her on here. She'd be so mad.
Let me pause it.
Yeah, pause it for 1 second. Hey.
And we're back.
And we're back on. Yes.
Thanks, Amanda.
Dude, thanks, babe. Gotta pause the podcast. No, man, it's our responsibility, man. And would it be easier to not have the hard conversations? Sure. Would it be easier to like be passive? Sure. But at what cost? Like there's a cost associated to everything. It's like our responsibility to like this is a cross that we are like we were chosen to carry, which is to raise our kids. And I think one of the coolest illustrations that I've ever heard about like training and raising a kid in the way they should go is it's like you're fastening and you're creating an arrow in your quiver, right? Like you know, the old timey days, right? Where you gotta find a reed that's straight enough to become an arrow. Then you have to, make your fletchings and you have to, sharpen your arrowhead and all those things. It's like, that's what fatherhood is I'm fashioning these arrows in the quiver that I'm going to launch out into the world and watch them change the world. Now,
Mhm.
when they get to be 18, the role switches a little bit. When they grow up and they're becoming adults, like now I can be your friend. Until then, my job is to make sure you're respectful, you're kind, you're doing your best, you're serving Christ, you've been taught and discipled the scriptures. Like that, all this is my responsibility now. Like there's not time for friendship, buddy. Like it's okay, honey, we're best friends. Like sure, like if you ask the youngest one, I mean, even if you ask any of our kids, like oh yeah, that's my best friend. Like oh, that's my stepdad, that's my dad, he's my best friend. Like yeah, but that's not like the intention now is like I'm not my goal isn't to be your friend, it's to raise a child that knows Christ,
Yeah.
to know Jesus. But as we get older, as the kids get older, then it changes a little bit. Like then they become biblically equivalent to brothers, right? Like
Yeah.
he'll always be your son, will always be a father, but it's the dynamic switches as they grow older. It becomes like let's go on this, let's go on this elk hunt, like together as, brothers in Christ, but really it's like dad, son, the
Mhm.
the dynamic changes a little bit. Oh, chug.
Yes. Yeah, I I don't know, I have a kind of an issue. I mean, not necessarily an issue. When I was growing up, my dad wasn't super strict. And I don't like resent him or anything like that for any of that. He was a great dad and he took me fishing. I mean, he was a good dad and he was strict when he had to be.
Hmm.
Um, but I just kind of was like mischievous.
Hmm.
And I was not truthful hardly at all. And he 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 didn't he trusted me and I kind of used that against him, unfortunately. And
Hmm.
so like which ended up getting me into trouble. And like so that was stuff that kind of basically ruined my ability moving forward in life to do a career in law enforcement, um, because of the stuff that I did in high school.
Hmm.
And and it is what it is, but it's just not what God had in plan for me, apparently, because I've been trying for a long time. And which it sucks, but it's fine, it's whatever. And like I know from my own, and I think this is probably why, is because I experienced all that stuff growing up on my end, and I know how to prevent it from happening with my son. And so I can take that as a learning experience moving forward to make sure that he stays out of trouble and make sure that I'm keeping an eye on him and, um, and putting him into church and making sure he has like biblical kind of men around him at all times. Um, not that, not that my dad failed as being a dad at all whatsoever, but being immersed in the church and being around men on a constant basis who are biblically sound is very beneficial
Hmm.
for Andrew. Um, because all of the examples around him pretty much are men who are biblically sound. There's no like, I don't hang around with people who are not from jujitsu or from church, mainly from church. Almost all the time we're hanging out with people from church. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm more than content with that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fine. And I think that that is beneficial. Like, all of his teachers are Christians. That I mean, they pray before class,
That's awesome.
like all that kind of stuff. And he's got to be a kid too. So I have to like let him make some kind of mistakes within reason. And
Yes.
but like every time he goes out with his friends, I'm like, don't do anything stupid.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, we won't." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm just saying it because I was a kid and I know like kids
Mm-hmm.
can do stupid things." So
Yes.
I just want people to know, like, you don't necessarily, this is gonna be kind of counterintuitive for the whole podcast, but you don't necessarily have to be an active Christian to be a good dad, but it will make it better. It will make your life better. It will make your kids' lives better tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
I can already see the change in my life and in my family's life over the last, what has been 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. I think it was 21
Yep.
when we started going to church. And I know I mean, just from the people that we surround ourselves with now, people that are surround, like our friends, the kids that Andrew's around on a consistent basis. Um, it's all it's all been it's all benefited from us being back in church and being around those people and experiencing life with those people who are actively in
Mm-hmm.
church.
Yep.
um and it's only been a benefit, and that's why I like always try to get people to go to church, um or to like think about it. Like, I'm not gonna like push anyone to like believe in something that they're not going to,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely a good experience. And um if you have any doubt at all, like if there's anything in your mind or in your heart that kind of is pushing you towards even a remote thought that Jesus is real, there's no reason for you to not go to church,
100%.
because all it's going to do is it's going to make that belief stronger. And worst case scenario, like we say all the time, you're going to become a better person. Your kids are going to become better. They're going to have, my dog moved behind me. They're gonna have a better life. They're gonna have stronger friendships.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have stronger relationships moving forward, because there's a higher chance that they're gonna have a relationship with someone who is um, a Christian.
Yep.
So that's gonna be more than likely how it's gonna move forward in their life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I always can focus on bringing that up. Like, worst case scenario, what's the worst case sanario? You gonna
Yeah. I mean, I don't, it's hard pressed to even think of a negative, right? Like, because I've met some dudes that are like, "What do you mean? You're gonna say that I'm not a good dude. I'm not a good guy." I'm like, no, I'm not saying that you're like the characters you possess are not a benefit to your family. Like exactly what you said. What's to lose giving your life to Christ, and then you become a better husband, a better man, a better person. Like there's only benefit that moves forward. There's
Mhm,
zero benefit. There's zero negative saying like, oh, like a pro and cons list. Like there's no cons. Like it's just a pro list. You
mhm,
become a better man, a better follower, more intuitive, more wise, more cunning, more emotionally mature. Like all those things that are necessary to be the best version of you come from literacy in relationship with Christ. You have to grow those things to be the best version of who you are. Because if I can, aside from Christ, there's nothing good in me. Now, if I say, "Hey, innately, I'm a good dad," I'm a greater dad with Christ in me. Like, I don't want to see what my son to walk through, what I experienced innately. Like the Bible talks about, if a dad gives good gifts, like how much greater your father in heaven.
Mhm.
Bro, it's only better. Like there's no negative.
Yeah, and if you're open to the Jesus thing, right? Because obviously people who are gonna listen to this are maybe on the fence, maybe, I don't know. But if you're open to it, right? What kind of a great gift are you giving your family? Like if I'm able to get my buddy in Texas to get to church and to get his kids into church and actively be in church, and they all become believers and they start living their life that way, what kind of a great gift is that for him to give to his kids
Hmm.
for an eternity with Jesus, as opposed to what the mom, who is pagan, actively pagan, is going to give to her kids. And if they don't know that Jesus is an option, then what's going to happen? They're going to be kind of like in this realm of like, well, like this is the way that things are supposed to be, and that the earth is this, and when we die, that's it. We just cease to exist. Like, what kind of life is that to live when that is the expectation of death? You know,
Hmm.
and if you're able to take the idea of Jesus and the idea of heaven after you die, after you leave this earth, and understand like that's the potential future for eternity. Like what?
Yeah.
You know?
There's no hope.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
um being able to take the idea and kind of share that with people to the point of they go from not attending the church and not being in the word to being active. Like basically for me, right? Like I've always been a believer, but I've never consistently went to church or read the Bible, or lived in the way that I was supposed to be living, and I still don't, right? I don't think any of us do, because it's
Hmm.
impossible to get to the point where you're supposed to be. And that's the whole point of Jesus, right? Because we know we're supposed to behave a specific way and we can only do so much. And
Hmm.
even though we think that we're doing our best, even minor thoughts in our heads are the reason why we wouldn't necessarily be going to heaven. But because Jesus was there for us and he was able to take that burden off of our souls for everything that we've done and everything that we will do in the future, and everything that you'll do and everything that you've done in the past and everything that you'll do in the future, and anyone else who's listening, as long as you believe that he did what he did for you
Yep.
and you have faith in that, then you're saved. Like you have that
Yep.
salvation. And if some things are confusing, I think that's okay, right? Like the Trinity,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's super
Absolutely.
confusing to me. I don't really understand it, but that's not necessarily going to be something that's going to question my salvation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm a believer and I've already within my heart given my life to Christ, and I said, like I believe that Jesus died and was resurrected, and whatever the whole, however you say it, I believe that Jesus was the Son of God and that he was
Hmm.
killed on the cross and that he 3 days later rose and was resurrected and all
Yep.
this other stuff. Saying it with your mouth is what the Bible says that you have to do, but like if you believe it and someone says, "Do you believe that this happened?" and you say, "Yeah," then like you're basically saying it with your mouth, I think, right? Like
Yep.
just because I can't memorize what to say doesn't
Hmm.
mean that it doesn't count.
Yeah. 100%.
Um, and like as you're moving forward in your walk, you're going to be more prone to feel like you have to do certain things, right? So like faith without works is dead. Exactly. That's my point. Because you're going to feel convicted to do certain things as opposed to other things, right? That's
Hmm.
the works that he's talking about. It's not like,
Yep.
well, I need to go and spend 16 hours a week at the soup kitchen or something like that. That's not
Hmm.
necessarily what's
No.
happening. It's more along the lines of your behavior change, right?
Yep.
That's the works that he's talking about. Like if I go from driving past someone who is on the corner who's panhandling to giving them a few bucks. That's a work, right?
Mhm.
That's something that Christ has convicted me to do on a certain basis. Or
Mhm.
like, I never used to do this, but sometimes now I'll leave a tip for, like in the hotel room for the housekeeping. Like, just because I feel like they're in a situation where they're having to clean rooms on a regular basis, they need another
Mhm.
20 bucks isn't going to hurt me, but
Yeah.
it may be a difference between them having a meal that day or being able to feed their kids,
Yep.
a gallon of milk, peanut butter and jelly.
Mhm.
That's a meal for a couple days, worst case scenario, something like that.
Mhm.
So like that's the kind of stuff that the Bible can change in your behavior over the course of your life, right?
Yep.
And if I'm able to instill something like that in my kid to where he grows up and he's like, I don't need to tip when I go to buy milk at the dairy, but I will because like that's an extra amount of money for those kids to have to buy
Yep.
ice cream or whatever it is. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
And
So
it
I think
talks
it's
and
just
it
something
just
important.
100%, and that just you hit the nail on the head, right? It's the works that you're talking about is just you begin to look more like Jesus. And in those times where like because Jesus, his heart is generous, right? Like that's the things that we emulate in Christ are the things that we experience, right? I could give a little couple extra bucks. Like God's been faithful to me. Like I'm gonna just
Mhm.
all that I'm just stewarding this anyway. It's his money anyway. He gave it to me. I'm gonna give it away. And it's like becoming more like Christ. And it's not like, oh, I have to go give the guy on the corner $30. Like, no, it's because like I have a little like if I'm prompted to, that's because it's the heart of Jesus. Is if you do unto the
Mhm.
least of these, you do unto me, right? It's not like this workspace where I have to do this many things because I had this bad thought this morning. It's like, no, I want everything I do to be an expression of love to Jesus, and I want to reflect his love to other people. And if I'm not emulating his character to the people around me, how am I spreading the light of Christ? You hit the nail on
Yeah.
the head with that. You look more like
Yeah.
Jesus, or you want to look like Jesus. The more you want to be near Jesus, the more you naturally begin to express the way Jesus expresses himself here on earth through your actions, how you think, how you see the world. It's a nearness to Jesus. That's it. That's perfect.
Yeah, and I think and having those convictions on a regular basis for specific things, but I wanna bring up again, what you just kinda talked about, that feeling that you have, um, when you come into certain situations. Dog's growling. When you come into the certain situations, where, like, you have those feelings, right? Like, that's God talking to you. He's
Mhm.
making you feel those feelings to try to sway you to understand, like, this is the situation where you need to pay attention, and
Mhm.
this is what you need
Yep.
to do in this situation. And
Yep.
if you have that urge to, like, say something to someone or whatever, do that gesture, that kind gesture for someone, like, it doesn't even have to be anything crazy, right? So, like, if I'm, like, parked in the parking lot at the grocery store and I see, like, this older lady or any person for that matter who just finished loading their groceries in their cart or into their car, and I'm walking into the store, why would I not just take their cart into the store?
Yep.
Say, "Hey, you want me to just take that for you?" Like, that's not a big deal. And
Mhm.
it doesn't even matter, like, it probably doesn't even mean anything to anyone, but they may have had, like, the worst day ever,
Yep.
and, like, they may have just stubbed their toe on the dang cart's wheel or something like that, and they just, like,
Mhm.
wanna throw it out into the grass in the little grassy section in the parking lot at the grocery store,
Mhm.
and you're just like, "Hey, let me take that for you," and they're just like, "Oh, thank you," or
Yep.
whatever. "Do you need help
Yep.
lifting this thing?" or something, anything like that,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And, like, you don't have to do it, and you shouldn't do it just to kinda, like, make yourself feel better. It should be something that you kind of inherently feel
Yep.
to do as something that's, like, I don't know, like, me and my buddy Zach, we used to do this thing where we would, like, say it's our good deed for the month or something like that, and, it didn't generally happen monthly, but, like, we would come across like, one time we came across this dude who was, like, pushing his I love you, pushing his car, like, on this main busy road and by himself. And we are like, "What is going on?" So, like, me and him jumped out. We went into the parking lot. We parked, jumped out, went to help the guy push his car into the parking lot because nobody was helping him, man. It was like literally everyone was just kind of driving around him, like we sat there for like 2-3 minutes, and we just kind of like watched everyone go around, and we're like, what, how is nobody stopping to help this guy?
Mhm.
And all he was trying to do was push it into the parking lot, which was like 50 yards away. It was like, take the time. It only
Mhm.
takes a couple minutes. It doesn't take long,
Mhm.
like it only takes a couple minutes for you to change someone's life potentially,
100%.
because they
Mhm.
could be, like I said, they could be having the worst day of their life, and all you did was take the time to help them push this car into this parking lot. It only takes 20 seconds for you to say, "Hey, are you going to go to church on Sunday?" Or, "Hey, what church do you go to?" Or, "Have you ever thought about going to church?" Or, "Hey, man, you guys should go to church," or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like all these different things. And you don't have to be perfect to go to church. You don't have to.
Nope.
And I have an issue sometimes with myself because like I'll sometimes judge someone and say, like in my head, I'll be like, "Whoa, like what?" I don't know, like, and it's just and I know like it's wrong and I don't necessarily believe it, but like my old me is still in my head sometimes.
Mhm.
I'm like, why would you I don't know, like why would you dress like that or behave that way in church? Like we had a dude who was like after a service, he was kind of upset that this dude behind me who always sits behind me was like had saved seats for someone that's like saved seats. Everyone saves seats for everyone. Like it's not a big deal. But he
Yeah.
had saved seats for like this couple who ended up not showing up. And then the dude shows up and he's like, he comes back and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's real Christian of you to save seats, blah blah." And I'm like, why would you say that? Like you don't have to behave that way. Now that I think is inappropriate,
Mhm.
but like maybe he's having a bad day. But like if you're
Mhm.
constantly like if your behavior doesn't change from you going to church, something's not clicking. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you're not going there for the reason that you should be going there for, and you should probably like reevaluate like if someone's close by who sees that, they need to say something. Like they need to be
Mhm.
able to kind of like instill themselves into their life to kind of give them that point of view and saying, "Hey, look, dude, this behavior is not acceptable really. And you shouldn't be getting this angry or making this big of a deal over something at church, especially at church." And I don't know. I'm convicted almost because like what happens is on a regular basis now, monthly or weekly rather, is we go in, we say my seat in my row for me, my wife, and our friends, and then the row behind us for this guy Tom, and then this older couple, and like Tom's daughter and husband and his grandkids. So there's like 4 or 5 seats that are right behind us, and there's a pillar. Well, this dude that I was just talking about, he consistently tries to go in and sit in those seats. And it's like it's like he's trying to cause an issue with it. And it's like, well, I don't understand why you would do that. There's literally 300 seats,
Yeah.
and
Why is
100
this
of
the
them are
one
in
you
the
want?
back row. And you're actively, in my opinion, and this may be wrong, but in my head, I'm thinking like you're doing this just to kind of like cause a conflict. And so I don't know. So I think like that's the kind of behavior that you should be convicted to not do anymore. It's just like a road rage thing, right? To an
Mhm.
extent. You know what I mean? You're like trying to get back at someone, like, I'm getting
Yeah.
back at you. That's the behavior that should be changing as you're getting back into church and as you're getting Jesus back into your heart. And if
Mhm.
you're not doing that, then you need to be figuring out why. And so hopefully, I mean, I don't want to be the one to do it because if security says it, like they may not come back to church. So
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
I I don't want to do it, and I would rather have someone else do it. So we'll see. But it's becoming a problem, and I don't want to have to get involved because I don't want them to not come to church
Yeah. Like,
because
you
I
still understand the end game is for them to be more like Jesus. Now I'm not gonna stand
yeah
in the way and say something that pushes someone away from the place that
yeah
they can encounter him on a regular basis. Yeah.
yeah. So
Like, that's a whole other podcast of walking that line as a safety team member, bro, you know?
I
That's a whole
know
nother one.
I know
That's the line we have to walk every day.
yeah, and when I said this to our guys the other day, do you have to go soon?
Yeah, I got a few more minutes, you're good.
Well, so last week, I made it a point because we had to let a guy from the safety ministry go. The pastor did it last week, and the guy had initially been the coordinator for our campus, and his wife runs First Impressions, like basically like Amanda does, and she's always there. And they're an elderly couple, and the dude wasn't meeting the requirements that is needed for him to be active on the safety ministry. He has served 1 day a month, and he hadn't been doing that for several months consecutively. He wasn't making it to the training that we specifically changed the requirements so that he was able to attend, i.e., pistol shooting, because it was initially for people who were only qualified. But then we said, hey, we have some people that need practice and they need to go. So can we change the requirement for that? We did that 2 years in a row for him, and he didn't go. And so we were a little jaded about it, especially me, because like I try to keep in contact with him consistently. Um, anyways, so spitefully, it seemed the wife was there this last Sunday and the husband didn't show up because I think he was a little like kind of jaded about being relieved from the ministry.
Mhm.
And she's like, you guys need to stop being in this spot right here because you're in, and if the main pastor shows up, you guys are going to get yelled at and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, look, like that's unnecessary behavior. And we're doing this specific thing for a reason. Like he's new, he's shadowing that guy. The children's ministry is right there. That's why he's standing there. And I'm walking from the sanctuary outside. And you're stopping me from going outside where there's nobody at the moment so that you can complain to me about something because you're trying to make um, like a petty argument because you're upset that your husband was removed from the safety ministry, which I understand, but this is what we do. Like this is our thing, and we've been in training for many, many, many days and hours on how to do this. Well, what I told the guys, I said, "Hey, like if anyone complains to you about you bunching up, like let me know so that we can talk about it with the pastor because the other ministries are complaining, but none of the congregation's complaining at all because they don't know." And so I told these guys, like, this is what the safety ministry is. We're First Impressions. We're the Stevens ministry, which is the ministry that we have that's basically for people who are going through really rough times.
Mhm.
We are children's ministry because we are protecting the children. And if the kids need something, we go and help them. And we're the security and medical. So, like, we have all of these different hats that we wear. Meanwhile, everyone within the church who is in a different ministry, like the cafe or children's ministry or whatever, that's all they do.
Mhm.
We are supposed to be able to identify someone who is outside, who is coming in, who may be having a really bad day, and being able to say, "Hey, man, what's up? Are you okay?" And then being able to understand what they need at that moment if they need to talk to someone who is in the Stevens ministry so they can say, "Hey, let's go sit and talk, figure out what's going on," or one of us take them and say, "Hey, man, like, let's what's up? What's going on?"
Mhm.
And being able to understand if that dude needs a prayer or a bullet.
100%.
You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
think that that's really important for if you're listening to this and you're at a church, understand what your safety ministry does, what your security team does, because they're not just
Yep.
there to be muscle. They're not there to be
Oh, yeah.
static positions, like, at least in our church anyway, and probably in
Mhm.
yours too, I'm sure.
Yep.
Our duty is to be the first point of contact for anyone who is dealing with anything, whether it's a mental crisis,
Yep.
a divorce, a death,
Yep.
something along those lines where they initially need prayer,
Yep.
and we have to be able to identify that and get them to
Mhm.
the right people with, I don't know,
Mhm.
minimal hesitation.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's the requirement, man. Like this last Sunday, we had 3 separate emergencies that were different on like, I had a medical emergency, had a 13-year-old kid pass out mid-experience,
Mhm,
so that was cool. Then we had a borderline domestic violence type situation, but identifying it soon enough to where like it was a struggling like son to his mom, where I was able to pull him into be a part of the conversation in the parking lot. I ended up essentially praying for him and like really like encouraging him to like do live his life submitted to Christ. So it was a moment where it was like could have gone like I was either going to physically remove this dude from what was going on, or I was there to like charge with like being there part of like the spiritual growth of this individual. And then the heck was the third one? Um, there was a third one. I forget what it was. There was something else crazy that went down. It was all in the same. So, like for a safety team, we're anything to anyone at any point of the day. Like
mhm,
safety. If there's not a facilities guy, they're like my guys are taking out trash and mopping up the floor. On the same time, they are out in the parking lot dealing with a combative. It was a dude that was being extremely combative to our ushers and was put himself in a position against what we were asking him to do, and then taking pictures of where our safety team members were located. So that one was a big one that I'm still on DEFCON red about for this next Sunday. So be praying for that, everyone.
Yeah.
Just very sketchy, just crazy. But all these things were happening intermittently, and we be all things everything. But then a safety team also needs to know who's in charge of what ministry, where to send people if they need to talk to somebody, who's on what team. Like for us, different teams have different channels. Okay, this individual needs to get a hold of the parking team. Okay, it's on this channel. This one, kids ministry, different channel. This one, production is a different channel, right? Like, all these different things. I mean, we operate independently on our own channel. So knowing all these things at all times, but we walk a fine line of, like you said, pray, they're either prayer or a bullet, right? Like understanding and discerning which is the right one. And we walk a fine line of, we're the safety ministry. Our job, we are commissioned to be an example, a representation, and an expression of who Jesus is physically in the flesh, which is kindness, gentleness, like all of those. But also, as I say, we are charged with the protection of our people, the flock, right? So the watchmen are like designed also, like at the same time, we were going to push people towards Christ, but don't misunderstand that, because at the same time, I've already formulated a plan as how to extinguish your life if you try to extinguish the life of our people in our church. So like, it's this fine duality that a safety team member has to do. And that all comes down to the relationship with Jesus. In the same way, what makes us good safety team members is the same thing that makes us good fathers, is the relationship with Jesus. I can be a half-baked father and a half-baked safety team member if I'm not spending time with the creator that's commissioned me and designed me to be both. The protector, the protector, the vigilance, the wisdom, the discernment, all those things that comes from this, right? Your relationship with Christ is this. How much time you're spending in the Word. But yeah, be kind to your safety team members, punks. They're over there serving the team, bro. They're serving for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you lead now in your team
for
at
security?
Your campus? Yeah.
Yeah, for security. Matt's the coordinator for the campus for both, and then we have like 3 or 4 medical. I'm kind of on medical too, but the other ones are nurses, so that I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm like last resort kind of a thing. So, but yeah, for security specifically, I'm the lead for that.
Let's go, bro. Heck yeah.
I mean, all right, man. I've been doing it a couple years.
That's cool, bro. I didn't know if with that dude leaving, if you got elevated as far as
no.
Like your
he
role.
had already been not in a position. He had already been. He actually delegated me and Matt to be the leads. So when he left, Matt took over coordinator, and I'm just security lead. So, but yeah,
sweet. Hey, hit that final thoughts button, bro. Let's get those out there.
Chapink, Scooby-Doo.
Bro, you had it keyed. You had it queued up, bro.
Yeah, that's right there. There.
Let's go, man. All right, what's your final thoughts on the fatherhood, bro? Undermining culture, undermining fatherhood.
I just think like you have to be present, man. Like the culture appears to be like trying to demasculate men in a consistent, consistently across the board, whether it's in movies or in whatever, like it's just across the board. There's a lot of like anti men sentiment going around, just from videos I've seen online. Anything from like any man, like, there's the thing where like a woman gets asked, like, would you rather be in the woods with a man or with a bear? And they like pick a bear all the time, which is completely ridiculous to me. And they're under the impression that like all men want to do is rape them. And that's so crazy. The other thing too is like there's a lot of stuff that's going around where like having a man around is going to be beneficial, right? You can't be prosperous by yourself as a woman. You know what I mean? You can't be prosperous by yourself as a man either. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be fulfilled in life being single, whether you're a man or a woman, right? We're made to be married.
Yep.
Peter, is it Peter? I think it's in Peter or whatever. I think Paul says it. Paul says it, and he goes, like, if you're single, that's cool, right? Not he doesn't say this
Mm-hmm.
verbatim, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
rough translation. He says, if you're married, you're cool. If you're single, that's cool, man. But
Mm-hmm.
like, if you're married, then be married. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like if you're a dad and you're listening to this, like your job in your life is to be a father and to be a
Yep.
husband.
Mm-hmm.
And
First.
yeah, that's first. And then, focus on your family and focus on your kids. Make sure that they understand that you love them and be able to show them what being a man is about. Whether you have daughters or sons, your daughters need to see what kind of man they should be marrying, and your sons should be seeing the kind of man that they need to grow up to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your job as a man, as a father.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
They should be seeing how you treat your wife. Your daughters should be expecting their future husbands to treat them as you treat your wife. And your son should see you treating your wife, and that should be an expectation for them on how they treat their wives in the future.
Yep. That's perfect.
I love it.
Yeah. And that's perfect. And it's not too late to start. Like even if
Yeah.
you're in your you're out of young kid life and you're into teenage or even empty nester, like it's not too late to live in a way that is honoring first to God and administering first to your wife, but also living as an example to your kids. So don't
Mhm.
let wasted time be something that keeps you from jumping into the arena of first of all submitting your life to Jesus, because that's first and foremost. That he's I can't do anything aside from him. And second of all, to be the man and husband that you're called to be, there's no expiration date on it until you've expired yourself, right? Like
Yep.
today is the day. Choose today whom you're going to serve, and live today like as the first start for the rest of your life. So it's not too late. So get in it, submit your life to Jesus, come back to Him, turn your life over to Him, and then submit your marriage, submit your kids to Him, and watch God just do crazy, incredible things, pressed down, shaken together, running over more than you ever think could or you ever think or imagine, is what Jesus wants to give you, the life, an abundant life. So don't let wasted time stop you from jumping in today.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we got.
Yeah. That's all we got.
That's all we got,
That's all we
y'all.
got. That's all we
Let's
got.
pray real quick. That's all we got.
All right.
Jesus, we just thank you for today. Thank you for the privilege of coming on this podcast for our listeners, the people that tune in. Lord, I pray that everyone under the sound of my voice is just you just continue to bless them. You shower your love, your mercy, your grace on them, that you draw them closer to you, Lord, than they have ever been before. You convict the sin that needs to be convicted, but you charge every single person under the sound of my voice to live a life that's worthy. The worthy of the call that's been on them, Lord. It's that they've been called by you and for you. So Holy Spirit, continue to grow them, shape them, challenge us to be better. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Hey.
Beep, beep.